I knew I had won. The ghosts were on my side. They didn't want the lighthouse to be knocked down, but they still weren't saying anything. Then I realized why. They couldn't talk. Ghosts can't talk. Look, I said, this is no good. I can't see you, and I can't hear you. I want you to pick up the musical instruments if you are going to help. Very slowly, the clarinet and the saxophone started to rise in the air. As they did so, the dust and cobwebs fell off. They were sparkling like new. Then they started to play. I recognized the tune straight away. It was We Shall Not Be Moved. That's the spirit, I said. Now, you have to come outside. We need you to scare the wreckers off. You have to come outside to do that. In the daytime, in broad daylight. The music stopped. The clarinet and saxophone started waggling from side to side. The ghost didn't want to go outside. It's no good doing that, I said. You have to come outside. You have to scare the wreckers off before they get to the lighthouse. They might blow it up with dynamite from the outside. A bit of music at midnight won't do the trick. Come on, come with me now before they get here. You can practice going out in the daytime. I walked out of the room and started going down the stairs. Halfway down, I looked over my shoulder to see if they were coming. They were. The saxophone and the clarinet were slowly floating down the staircase. They were bobbing up and down as they went. I couldn't see the ghosts. Hang on to those musical instruments, I told them. It's the only way I know where you are. When we got to the bottom, I looked outside. The wind was blowing a bit. It was not very strong, only a breeze. I stepped outside and turned around. Come on, you two, I said. There's nothing out here to hurt you. I was wrong about that, but I didn't know it at the time. They started waggling again. They didn't want to come out. I waved my arms at them. Don't you want to save the lighthouse? The clarinet and saxophone slowly floated outside. And then something terrible happened. They started to blow off in the wind. The wind was blowing the ghosts away. They were drifting off towards the edge of the cliff. I ran over to the clarinet and tried to grab it. My fingers went right through it. It wasn't solid. When the ghosts touched the musical instruments, they changed. They became ghostly. I tried to grab the saxophone, but the same thing happened. There was nothing I could do to help. They drifted closer and closer to the edge. Then both instruments fell to the ground. They started to slowly move along the ground in little jumps. I knew what was happening. The ghosts were crawling. They were trying to crawl back to the lighthouse by hanging onto the grass. The wind started to blow more strongly. I was worried they might blow out to sea. Come on, I shouted. You can do it. Keep going, keep going. And they did keep going. All I could see was the saxophone and clarinet making small hops across the ground. It took a long time, but at last they got back to the lighthouse. They went inside. I tried to go after them, but the door slammed in my face. I opened the door and was just in time to see the instruments floating quickly up the stairs. When I got to the music room, everything was quiet. The instruments were on the table, covered in cobwebs, and the ghosts were nowhere to be seen. Come on, guys, I said. I'm sorry. I didn't know the wind would blow you away. Come back. We'll think of something else. There was no answer. They were mad at me. I didn't blame them. After all, I had nearly got them killed, if you know what I mean. I told Stan about what happened. He believed me. I didn't think he would. I could hardly believe it myself. Yes, he said, I knew there was something up there. I thought that it might be Captain Rickett and my dear old dad. I didn't really know. I've never heard them myself. What are we going to do? I asked him. How are we going to stop the wreckers? The ghosts won't help us now. They're mad at me. Stan shook his head sadly. I don't see what they could do anyway, he said. If they can't come outside, they won't be much use to us. We just have to try and stop the wreckers on our own. I went up and played them. I went up to the music room every day that week. I begged and I pleaded. Nothing happened. The room was empty and cold. There was no sign of the ghosts. I didn't know whether they could hear me or not. At last, Friday came. A ship arrived at first light. It unloaded 5 men and a bulldozer. There was a tall crane with a huge steel ball on the end. I knew what it was for. It was to knock the lighthouse down. The men set up camp by the beach. Stan and I watched them from the house. I'm going down to see them, said Stan. You wait here. I don't want you losing your temper. Let me handle it. I'll ask them to go away. I'll tell them we're not going to help. That won't do any good, I said. They won't take any notice. It's no good talking. We have to sit in front of the bulldozer or something like that. First, I'll try talking, said Stan. It's worth a try. I watched him walk down to the beach. He was bent over and he walked slowly. His white beard was flapping in the wind. A strong southerly westerly was blowing. I saw him talking to the men. He was pointing to the lighthouse and shaking his head. One of the men started waving his fist at Stan. I could see that they were shouting at each other. Stan turned around and came back to the house. It's no use, he said as he came in the door. They won't listen. They said they have a job to do. They've given us until lunchtime to get all our things out of the lighthouse, then they're going to knock it down. The only thing I want is my violin, he said. Not that I can play it anymore, not with these old hands. Go and get it for me, will you, boy? I went up to the music room and picked up the old violin. I decided to leave the clarinet and saxophone. They belonged to the ghosts. I decided to talk to them once more. Listen, ghosts, I said. I'm really sorry that you were blown away in the wind. It's windy today, so I know you can't go outside, but you must be able to do something. We need your help. They're going to knock the lighthouse down this afternoon. I waited a long time, but there was no answer. In the end, I turned around and walked away. Stan and I were on our own.